Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm very happy that you all were able to make the time to be here. My name is Susan Weinstein. I'm co-executive director at Families for Depression Awareness, and you are joining us for Building Your Family Caregiver Toolkit, Strategies for Supporting Loved Ones to Get Well. This is going to be a new kind of program for us because we are doing an educational session that is streaming live on Facebook, and also for the people who are with us on Zoom. For those of you who registered, we'll have this session, and then after about a half an hour, we'll stop the live stream. And again, those who are registered, we'll be able to go into breakout rooms and have a little discussion. Then we'll come back and wrap things up. So where to begin? Let's start at the very beginning. Here we are, thank goodness. So in this program tonight, I'll talk a tiny bit about Families for Depression Awareness, and then we'll go a little bit more, but very quickly, into building your toolkit. We'll have an interview with Kristi Horner from Courage to Caregivers. And then again, we'll stop the live stream and we'll go to breakout sessions, wrap up. And we will, at multiple times in the program, ask you if you will please complete our survey. You will at some point find the link in the chat or comments, depending where you're looking. And well, let's just get going. Families for Depression Awareness, we've been around since 2001. We were founded primarily as a stigma reduction, awareness increasing, suicide prevention organization. We help families recognize and cope with depression and bipolar disorder to get people well and prevent suicides. We believe very strongly that mood disorders affect the whole family. So it may just be one person who has a diagnosis, but everyone else is feeling it in some way. Some may be at higher risk for a mood disorder, and some may just be doing a whole lot more because that one person has the diagnosis. So we think that everybody should have their needs identified and met. We are a national organization. We're based in Waltham, Massachusetts, and we have a satellite office in Nashville, Tennessee. Our website is at familyaware.org. For those of you on Facebook, you may not have seen it already. I hope you enjoy this view of it because it's not going to be around much longer. We are launching a new website. We found that with this website, we are just so rich with resources and information that it was getting hard to navigate. So we are completely streamlining and making it easier to find the things you're looking for. And we'll look forward to getting feedback on that after we're going to launch it. One of the features of our website is that we have these online tests, including a mood disorder test. It's a screening test for depression and bipolar disorder. We also, a couple of years, introduced this caregiver stress test. Yes, I know you would test positive, but it doesn't just do that. It measures the level of your stress and then points you to resources that will hopefully help you reduce that stress and feel like you can manage it better. We also have some publications, one of which, the Helping Someone Living with Depression or Bipolar Disorder. I don't know that you can see this. So much for my background. Here we are. When we started working on this, we thought it was going to be 20 pages and it turned out to be 60. So it's got a whole lot of information. It's very digestible and reader friendly, we hope. It's got some people's stories, but also a whole lot of caregiver tips. So if you fill out the survey, we will happily send you a copy. So let's jump in. We're very excited that we have this download that you should be getting a link in the chat and in the comments on Facebook, Building Your Family Caregiver Toolkit. And we hope that this is something that you'll download, you'll fill out some, you'll go try things out, you'll fill out other things, you'll change what you put, but it's just a way for you to kind of organize your thoughts and to see where you might have some gaps, where you might have some places that you'd like to fill in a little more, you'd like to identify some more strategies, but hopefully it's something that you'll be able to use and come back to, and you'll steer other people to as well. You can print it out and write in it. You can keep it as a PDF and type into it. We tried to make it so that it'll work for whatever you have available to you. We're going to focus on 6 particular things with regard to caregiver tools: self-care strategies, setting realistic expectations, the resources that are available to you, defining your role as a caregiver, what you can do about effective communication and improving those skills, and also the family action plan. So let's start with number 1, self-care. When I say self-care, do you roll your eyes? Do you shrug? Do you think, yeah, that'd be nice, but no? Well, our thing is you really, really, really have to make it a priority, because if you deplete yourself, you're not going to be able to have anything to support your loved ones. So whatever metaphor you like, you can't pour from an empty cup, you can't drive on an empty gas tank, whatever it is. We really want to encourage you to identify some activities that you can do deliberately, consciously, that nourish you, that make you feel grounded, that make you feel replenished, that make you feel like you can just really move on to your next item on your to-do list, or whoever's tugging at your jacket, or calling you from another room, whatever it happens to be. But we want to make sure that you understand that you have to do this for yourself. And it doesn't mean that you go to the spa. I mean, it may, but that's not really what most of us can do. It just means that you take the time to do something really deliberate that will get you feeling a little bit better, get you feeling either that you're breathing better, you're seeing better, whatever it happens to be, that you just feel like a little bit of the weight is off your shoulders. So one of the things that we really like to talk about, though, is that you need, with this commitment, there's like this foundation, they're like the building blocks for us. And we use the acronym SEAM, or SEAMS, SEEMS, starting with good quality regular sleep. Americans are just not good about sleep hygiene. And we know that it really contributes to our mental well-being to have good quality sleep. Now, you may not be able to have, the ideal, but find something that works for you within the constraints of your life. If you're not sleeping because you're feeling stressed, then let's go back to that self-care thing and find some things that are going to reduce that stress. SE, eating. Ideally, you'd be eating a variety of healthy foods. Not everybody has that available to them. Do what you can with what you got. Don't feel the pressure to be doing something else. None of us can cook every night, and none of us has access to all the produce that we would love to have. Don't idealize what other people are doing and feel bad about it. Do what you can, and find things that you like, you can enjoy eating, because that in itself is a way of, having that moment to think about what you're doing, to be in the present. And being in the present is what mindfulness is about. And I realize I just skipped an E, but we'll get back to it. But mindfulness, be in the present moment, think about, don't use judgment, just let things happen, observe them. One of the things that I like to do that's a mindfulness kind of thing is to breathe colors, is what it's called. And real quickly, you think of a color that's like calming and relaxing. And for me, it's that color that you see for the ocean where it's shallow and it's kind of that turquoise, light turquoise. That's my calm color for sure. And then think about a color that you associate with anger or frustration, or some sort of negative energy. When you breathe in for like 3 seconds, whatever, breathe in that calming color, hold it, and then when you breathe out, breathe out that not calming color, the anger color, the negative color. And just do that a few times and you'll probably find that your body relaxes a little bit. Breathing is good and mindfulness is good. So here we just throw them together. The other E is, of course, exercise. I realize this picture shows people out in a family. If your family likes to exercise together, great. If they don't, great. Don't force it. Remember, this is something for you. I mean, hopefully you'll be able to work on family wellness too, but just commit to doing something regularly. If you miss a day, don't kick yourself, just get back on that track. And then the last S is sunlight. I realize some of us live in places where there's not a lot of that, but it's really about trying to get a little dose of nature, a little dose of green, a little dose of sun or cloud, whatever it is. But just to change the scenery a little bit, think of something a little bigger than yourself. Now, it's not all about exercise. You're not just a physical person. You also have spiritual aspects. You have psychological aspects. You have personal aspects. Try and find things that you can do that nourish you as a whole person. There's more to you than just this like one-dimensional thing. So think about different things you can do on different days that just make you feel whole and rounded. And think about, which particular areas could use a little more attention. Many of us get to a place where self-care isn't enough. There is absolutely no shame, no guilt, no nothing about seeking help, whether it's a support group or a therapist of one's own. Do it. Caregiving is stressful. It takes a lot out of us. And if you need someone to help you with building skills, if you need someone to help you with a reset, if you need someone to help you with perspective, all of those things you can find. And maybe it's a therapist and maybe it's a close friend, whoever it is, find someone who can help you develop those things within yourself and get the support that you need. Number 2, realistic expectations. As a caregiver, probably you think, I just want to help. I just want to help them. But what you're thinking is help may not be what that person wants. And Pat Deegan gave us this great quote, help isn't help if it doesn't help. So you got to make sure that you talk with your loved one, the person that you're being a caregiver with for. Ask them what would feel supportive to you. How can I be of support to you? How can I help? They may not have something right then, but just letting them know that you're willing, that you're there for them, even if it's just listening, that is a help. It's not forcing yourself on them. It's not telling them what they need to do. Now, of course, if someone is not in a good place, if they're a danger to themselves or others, you're probably going to have to step in a more forceful way. But often you don't need to do that. So just think about whether there's a way that you can take the cues from them, whether you could get guidance from them. The other thing is, good, we have a slide on it, as if I haven't seen these. The stages of change can really help you with setting realistic expectations. Change is a process. Even the decision to get to go to someone about a diagnosis or to try a kind of treatment, that's a change for people. Change is a process and not everybody moves at the same pace. So for example, you've probably been seeing symptoms for a while. So you're like ready for action. You've already done research into some of the resources that are available, things like that. Your loved one may not even think that there's an issue. So I encourage you to learn more about these different stages and the kinds of things you might be hearing, what you might be able to say, stages of change on our website and on YouTube. Number 3, caregiver, understanding your roles. So as a caregiver, there are a skadillion things that you might need to do. It all depends on your loved one and what it is that they need. Uh, it might be about finding providers and doing some like initial screening. One of the things about depression is that it affects people's ability to think, to organize, to analyze, to reason. Often the organizing is the thing. And also, as you can just see, memory would be the other piece. So be compassionate with your loved one. They may not, and encourage them to be compassionate with themselves. But all this is to say that there are a whole lot of things that caregivers do. You can set your boundaries about what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. The other thing is you don't have to do everything yourself. If you need to take them to an appointment or you need to take some time for yourself, is there somebody who can watch the children for a little bit? Is there someone who can drive? Can you ask someone to, bring you over some food because you haven't been able to get to the grocery store? What kind of resources do you have available to you? Big ones are really being a support during the whole treatment process, evaluating treatment options, doing research into what the options are, but also, observing symptoms and keeping a record of it, helping, again, the memory thing. If you ask someone with depression, how have the last 2 weeks been since our last appointment, says the provider, chances are that it's not going to really resonate that they had any good times in those last 2 weeks. So you can be helpful in that way and say, oh, well, there was this time, last Monday that you did get out and you saw a friend, whatever it happened to be. You can be helpful in that way. So just think about the kinds of roles that would be appropriate for you and your loved one. Resources. Number one, education. Learn about your loved one's diagnosis. What are treatments? What are symptoms that you should be looking for? What are ways that might be supportive? What kinds of supports are available in your community? Who should be on the treatment team? How will you pay for treatment? What kind of legal issues are there? And then the big one is, just knowing what's around you. What can you tap into that can help you and your loved one? And as I already alluded to, responding to crisis, if they're just not able to make decisions for themselves, or if it gets beyond that, want you to be aware of the protective factors associated with suicide and the risk factors. The goal is to increase the protective factors and reduce the risk factors that you can. Some are very much out of your and your loved one's control, but being aware of them can help, because then you can try to find ways to beef up the protective factors that can be associated with that. So a big risk factor is lack of access to healthcare, mental health care. Maybe that's a stigma thing that you can help your loved one get past. Social isolation, we've all had some of that in the past 2 years. So again, being compassionate, finding ways to connect with people, that takes you to the protective factors, developing problem-solving skills. You can see them, I don't have to say them all, but just be aware. Access to lethal means is something that everyone should understand and should be able to act on. Safety is really important. So if someone is not well, if they're suicidal, do what you can to take away the things that they might use to attempt suicide. All right, past that, effective communication. We just did two programs on 2 webinars on communication. So I really encourage you to go to familyaware.org/trainings. One is about talking with adults, adult to adult. One is about adult and kid or teen. There's a lot more there than what's on this slide. I think the most important thing is active listening and respect. If you can show that you are engaged in what they're saying, you're not spending your time thinking about what's the next thing you're going to say. Support them in their experience. It doesn't mean that you have to agree. It doesn't mean that you have to reinforce it, but let them understand that you understand that that's what they're going through, that that's how they perceive things. And if things are not going well in a conversation, understand about walking away, take a break, take a few minutes, reset, or a few hours, whatever it needs to be, and then go back when you and your loved one are in a better frame of mind. And then finally, the family action plan. We developed this fill in the blank couple of sheets of paper, but it walks you through how you might address whatever is the most pressing issue of the moment. We really encourage you to involve your loved one if they are able, but also bring in people who care about your loved one and about you to see how you might problem solve this particular issue. And then when that's done, then you go to the next one. But it's a way of really crystallizing what your process is going to be and getting on paper so there's some accountability, giving deadlines so that you can have expectations. So those would be the 6 areas in brief. There's information about all of this on our website. I just want to give you a little quick overview. So here's like the big question for you is, as you think about this, what areas of your toolkit seem like, good places to start? But a good place for us to start is to bring in Kristi Horner. Do I have a picture? Oh, I do. And unfortunately, this means I don't have your introduction in front of me, but we'll do the best we can. Kristi is a caregiver and was a caregiver to her brother who lived a distance away from her. He lived with depression and anxiety and obsessive compulsive disorder. And sorry, I have a second screen that I'm just looking at Kristi for her nods. Despite her best efforts, and it was the state of his illness that he took his life in 2014. And in thinking about the situation, Kristi realized that there had to be a better way for caregivers to get support and to get education and to feel better equipped to be caregivers, but really knowing that the way that you can care for others is by caring for yourself. So, Kristi, can you tell us about your amazing organization, Courage to Caregivers?
Well, thank you, Susan. I love that you've got my bio already memorized. That's amazing. But we love working with families for depression awareness and have loved our partnership over the years. Courage to Caregivers indeed came out because we looked and hoped that somebody else had figured out all of this wonderful caregiver support. There's a lot of support for our loved ones with lived illness, and we're thrilled about that, especially as we're caring for them and getting them the tools and support they need. But my heart's for caregivers. And so I just really was trying to solve for that problem of caregiver burnout. So we basically went out to caregivers, asked them what they needed in the way of support, came up with 3 pilot programs, and now we're in year 4 of providing peer support for caregivers exclusively, as well as breathing meditation classes and support groups for caregivers. They're more like group coaching sessions, all because we're in the caregiver burnout prevention business. So we're here we realize we can't take the stress of caregiving away. You've done a really great job of acknowledging that tonight, but we can help caregivers to better cope and manage the stress of caregiving. And so that's what we're here to do.
And for our listeners, how is it that they can get involved? How can they participate in your programs?
So they can go to our website, couragetocaregivers.org. Right there, there's an overview of our 3 different programs. They can straight up register and we'll be in touch with them. We have an onboarding process. They will speak to our director of programs, who will go over what to expect and what not to expect. They'll get our series of onboarding agreements, including our privacy and confidentiality pledge, all of the resources, and then they'll start once they take our impact measurements, we will start adding them to the weekly Zoom, and they'll get the weekly handout. Our programs are based in a one-year curriculum of our own design. So they'll get a weekly link to the Zoom, as well as the handout for that week's tool of resilience. Our 52 weeks are all focused on building your tools of resilience, adding more tools to your toolkit. We believe you actually have a lot of tools already in your toolkit, so we're giving you permission to dust them off and use them again.
Well, that is awesome. And I have to say that one of the things that has been a positive that has come out of the pandemic is that you guys have gone national.
It's honestly, we got pushed off that high dive into the deep end on March 13th, 2020. And we have just as many caregivers outside of Northeast Ohio as we have within Ohio. So we feel really lucky that we've met caregivers from coast to coast in every time zone and Canada.
Yes, you are North American.
We are.
So for the caregivers who are still saying, self-care, self-maintenance is a nice idea, but it's just not anything I can do because I feel like there's too much to do and I just feel guilty. Mm-hmm. What do you say to them?
Right. And I think it's like the stigma of mental health. We all know that, right? The stigma and shame of mental health means we don't talk about our mental health challenges because we feel like we'll be shamed. Self-care has gotten a bad rep. So there's the shame of self-care out there right now and taking care of yourself. What I would tell them is you're killing yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, you're literally die from the stress. Stress of caregiving has been found, evidence-based research, the science says it will take 10 years off of a caregiver's life. And when caregivers hear that, they think, oh my gosh, right? And I've got to take better care of myself because I want to be here to provide that care to my loved ones. Your loved ones need you to be your healthiest, best version of yourself, whatever that looks like. And you did a great job of telling people through the seams analogy, metaphor, right? That whatever feels right for you. So whatever the healthiest, best version of you deserve that, and your loved ones get the best version of yourself. So it's self-care is actually giving the world the best of you instead of what's left of you. And I just love that quote. It's that oxygen mask analogy. Honestly, if you don't put on your own oxygen mask first, you won't be able to help anyone around you in that plane as it descends. Depending on the altitude and a lot of other, space things, you really only have 12 seconds of useful consciousness before you pass out. And 12 seconds isn't enough time. But if you've got your oxygen mask on, you can help a whole lot more people around you. And it's that same analogy. We also know, we've proven this through our own impact data, that healthier, stronger caregivers create healthier, stronger families. And you talk about that too. You've got the pictures of your families, exercise with your family, but the caregivers set the example for the loved ones in many, many cases because of their own limitations and challenges. And so by us taking care of ourselves, what are we doing? We're sending the message to our loved one that they also need to take care of themselves and take care of their sleep, exercise, or fitness, healthy eating habits, and mindfulness. So we're setting an example. We got to do what we say.
Yeah, we talk about modeling.
Yes.
Are there tools in your personal toolkit that you would like to share?
Well, you hit on a lot of them in the toolkit, which I just love, by the way. It's a fantastic resource. It'll go up on our website as well. I did not know anything about breathing, meditation, or mindfulness. I probably knew those buzzwords before we founded Courage to Caregivers. My brother was actually very much into mindfulness as part of his own self-care journey. But I was like, oh, that's not for me. And I just was like, that's for those people. And until we launched our program, and I did not know that our breathing and meditation program was going to be the fan favorite of all the programs. I said, how could we be teaching people to breathe and that be such an important self-care tool? First of all, it's free, it's accessible, and it's sustainable and portable. all of those all in one. So you just can't get any better in your toolbox than breathing, meditation, which are all forms of mindfulness. There's science, right? The parasympathetic nervous system and how it's affected. My sleep habits have improved because of my own new tools of breathing and meditation. We record our weekly breathing and meditation for caregivers. It's on our YouTube station. You can binge watch them all weekend long if you feel like it. They're really a great resource. Our facilitators are just amazing at teaching breathing techniques, giving you the guided meditation based on our topic of the week. And you're left with these tools of literally how to breathe. And we're all breathing wrong. So this way you're learning the right way to breathe, portable, sustainable, and free. You've got to love it. I use affirmations. I'm so glad you put those in there as well. I am surrounded by sticky notes in my office, and it's that daily reminder of I am worthy, I matter, and what I do is important, but what I do for myself is also important. One of my favorites is I'm a perpetual, perfectly imperfect work in progress, because really growth mindset is that acknowledgement and that self-compassion and self-grace that says, I make mistakes and that's okay. I'm doing the best I can with what I have at this moment and constantly strive to do better. The 7 C's, we have kind of modified the 3 C's for recovery, and it's one of our favorite tools whenever we're sharing, which is I didn't cause it, I can't cure it, I can't control it, and I can't change it. And yet I can have courage, compassion, and I can cope. So it's kind of an affirmation all wrapped into one, but it's that reminder that in the moment, all of those things we can't do with our loved ones and mental illness are just so real. You didn't cause it, you can't cure it, you can't control it, and you absolutely. What?
Start and video.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking me another question.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. So.
I don't know how somebody is unmuted, but
okay.
That's awesome. I always think I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and by God, people like me.
Yes, that works too.
So I'm very excited for people to know about your organization and to scurry over there and sign up when we're finished here. Because I think that, we're great with education, but you guys are great with support and with really supporting people and finding that within themselves.
It's about personal growth, right? To be the best version of yourself, it's about constantly growing. And we don't believe you need to change because we think you're fabulous the way you are, but we can help you to grow to be the best version of yourself that you want to be.
Practice makes improvement. Okay. All right, let me do a quick thank you. We are grateful to all of you for spending this time with us, for sure, and hope that you found it worthwhile. We also got some program support from the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, the Suicide Prevention Program, the Takeda-Lundbeck Alliance, and the AbbVie Foundation, and we are very grateful to our corporate members who support everything we do. And those include Sage Therapeutics, Takeda, Janssen Neuroscience, Alchemy's Pear Therapeutics, and GeneSight. You guys rock. So, as mentioned earlier, more than once, I believe, we would very much like to hear from you all. If you are registered for the breakout sessions, you'll please stay on. If you're watching this on Facebook, thank you so much. Please do take our survey. Again, I think it'll be in your chat, but it's a bit.ly link, FFDA Toolkit survey. Very clever naming. And we will send you something that you can't see, but anyway, our caregivers handbook. There we are. A great resource for you. Please do keep building your toolkit. Let us know what you think of the download. The caregiver stress test, again, can help you measure where you are on your stress and ways to address it. So that's familyware.org/stress-test. Do commit to practicing self-care because you are worth it. And, keep learning. We keep adding things to our website. Our newsletter will help you stay informed. So stay hopeful and be well.